Okay, good morning, everyone. Uh, so I hope that you have already revised the topics which we have already covered till now. So in last couple of classes, we have extensively discussed about the use of class and objects and various properties of class and objects like static members. We have discussed about the various type of access specifiers, private, public, how we can use it. Then we have discussed about the various properties of class and objects associated with the C++, right? So today, our main objective is to discuss about one of the very important core concepts of C++, that is constructors and destructors. Okay, let me share my screen first. Constructors and destructors. This, you can say, this topic is one of the core topic in C++ programming. Not only C++ programming, from any object-oriented programming point of view, these constructors and destructors are one of the very important concepts. So before I am going to start, I used to tell you that thing is, without the help of this constructor concepts, let me repeat again, without the help of these constructor concepts, you are not able to do any kind of object-oriented programming. Okay, while you are planning to write any kind of object-oriented programming, that means you are planning to write a class definition, you are planning to create an object of that class definition, or you are planning to access the class members by the help of those objects which you are going to create. As all of you know that objects are nothing but an instance of a class or examples of a class, right? So object has physical existency, whereas class has a logical abstraction, a logical existence, right? So without constructor, you are not able to perform this kind of class and object concepts. So till now, whatever program we have learned, where we have created the class and objects, or where we have played with the class and object concepts, we have used constructors. Okay, but specifically I didn't mention at that time, while we have done those earlier programs, that this is constructor or these are constructors. I didn't mention that thing to you. That's why you people couldn't know that you have already used constructors. So constructors, the main funda is that constructors are mainly responsible to create objects while you are trying to access the class members. You have to create objects. That is a very simple logic which you have learned already, right? So if you want to create an object, in case of any object-oriented programming language, you have to take the help of the constructors, right? So what is constructor? Very simple. Constructor is a special member functions. It is very much similar like a member function, but it has some difference in terms of some syntax, in terms of some definitions point of view. It has some difference from the general functions or general member functions. But we can say that constructor is a special type of member functions or special kind of member functions, right? Okay, so as all of you know that in C++, we actually define a user-defined data types such as class, right? Class is a user-defined data types which behave very similarly as a built-in data types, right? So what are the built-in data types in C++? Not only C++, but actually C++ mapped with C programming. So all the built-in data types which you have learned in C programming, that is also applicable for C++. So the built-in data types are mainly responsible to initialize a variable, to declare a variable, as all of you know that. As for example, you can declare a variable in C++ as suppose int m equal to suppose 30. In such a way, you can declare a variable in C++ with the help of built-in data types. Here the built-in data type is integer and the variable is m. Try to understand. I'm just trying to make the basic of or build the basics of the constructor logic. Why constructor came into the picture? Why we require constructor? Okay. Now, in such a way, we can build any kind of variables with the help of different built-in data types. Like if you want to build a float kind of variables, we can do in such a way. Now, these two are the valid initializations for basic data types, as all of you agree with me, right? So, when a variable is getting out of scope, try to understand. When a variable goes out of scope, that means the variable doesn't require or no longer required to be used. What I'm trying to say, a variable is no longer required to be used. That means you have defined a variable or initialized a variable a long time ago. Now you are not using that variable. Then this variable occupies some memory space in your memory. Suppose integer occupy a 2-byte memory space, float occupies suppose 4-byte memory space. It varies on the computer architecture. Okay, so it occupies the memory space. So what does your compiler will do if that variable or that data type, that basic data type, is no longer used for a long time, or it goes out of scope, then what compiler will do? Tell me your answer. What compiler will do? If the variable is no longer being used, what compiler will do? Anyone? What is the job of the compiler? To remove the memory space which has been occupied by these variables. That is the basic job of the compiler. The variable which has no longer been used for a long time, or it goes out of scope, for those kind of data types or for those kind of variable, compiler will automatically destroy the variable space. The compiler will automatically destroy the variable space, right? Are you agree with me? Are all of you agree with me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
When it will destroy the variable space, automatically the space will be returned back to the pool of memory, the free pool of memory, from where in future if any new variable will be created, the compiler can give some space for that new variable. Okay, otherwise there is a shortage of space. There will be shortage of space will be created for your machine, for your hard disk. So that is not possible. Okay, because compiler will automatically destroy the variable which goes out of scope or which has been no longer used. But this is in case of basic data types or a basic variable, ordinary variables. This thing is happening. Now, while you are going to create an object, how we are going to create an object? We are going to create an object in such a fashion: class space OB. That means the class name, then followed by the object name, right? In such a fashion, we have created the object. So is there any logic? Suppose the object is also goes out of scope or is no longer being used. It also goes out of scope and is no longer being used. So there must be some process or some technique available in object-oriented programming which will handle the creation of these objects as well as the destruction of this object. Let me repeat again. There must be some process in every object-oriented programming which will handle the creation of objects and the destruction of objects. These two job needs to be done by some process or some technique in object-oriented programming. Otherwise, who will create the object and who will destroy the object? That is the question. Who will create the object and who will destroy the object? Right. So the thing is that the technique or the process which is responsible to create an object is called constructor. Okay, it calls constructor, and the process or the technique by which you are going to destroy the object which has no longer been used, or you can say which goes out of scope, and that special technique is called destructor. So constructor, destructor are opposite of each other, and and constructor is used to create a memory space for a newly created object, and destructor is used to destroy the occupied memory space for the object which is no longer being used, or which goes out of scope. Is it clear? Is it clear to everyone, the job of constructor and destructor?
Yes, sir.
So constructor and destructor are two opposite functions of each other. So you can say C++ provides these two kind of special member function. One is constructor, which enables an object to initialize itself when it is created. Okay, and this is also known as the automatic initialization of objects. And second special member function has been provided by C++ called destructor, that destroys the objects when they are no longer required. Okay, that is the job of the constructor and destructor. Simple. So obviously you can understood that how much it is important to be used the concept of constructor and destructor in object oriented programming language like C++. Why? Because without creating an object or without creating a necessary memory space for a newly created object, you are not able to access the class members, and obviously you cannot perform any job in C++ programming or any kind of object-oriented programming. Now, the special notes. In C++, we require both constructor function and destructor function, or you can say constructor concept and destructor concept in C++. Constructor is used to handle the initialization of the objects while it is created, and destructor is used to destroy the objects when they are no longer required. But in Java, it has only the concept of constructor. In Java, it has only the concept of constructor. Unlike C++, it does not have a concept of destructor. It does not have a concept of destructor. Remember it, okay? In Java, it has only a concept of constructor. In Java, it does not have any concept of the destructor. Now, can anyone tell me how then destructions or destructor job will perform in Java?
Like it's automatic in Java. We don't need to call it.
Yes, yes. Java has a concept, another concept called automatic garbage collection. Java has another concept called automatic garbage collection, and Java JVM will do that automatic garbage collection for you, Java Virtual Machine. Okay, there is a special kind of process or machine is there which has a responsibility. The compiler, Java compiler, has a responsibility to collect the objects, or you can say the garbage of the objects which is no longer required or which is no longer used from the memory, and free the object occupied space to the free pool of memory, or send back the space or return back the space to the free pool of memory. And the entire process of destructor has been done in Java automatically. You as a developer, as a user, or as a programmer, you don't need to take any kind of headache to free the memory space. In C programming, there is also a construction of creating a memory and destructing a memory. Can anyone tell me where we have used that concept in C? In C programming.
Yes, yeah, dynamically, like creating the memory. Yeah, in dynamically.
Yes. In dynamic memory allocation, if you remember, in dynamic memory allocation, while we discuss about the dynamic memory allocation in C programming in the last semester, I discussed about that in calloc and malloc. By the help of calloc and malloc, that means memory allocation, and a calloc function will be used to create a memory dynamically at the runtime. Okay, while you are executing your program, okay, for it will create a memory, and we are using a another system defined function called free function to free the occupied memory which you have created dynamically at the execution time of the program. So the C++ and C conception is very much similar, but the thing is that in C, this calloc, malloc, and free function is applicable for the ordinary variable, which you are going to create dynamically. And here, this constructor destructor concept is applicable for the objects creation. Okay, because in C programming, there is no concept of class and object. It is structure-oriented programming. But in C++, there has an obvious concept of class and object. Okay, so that's why this constructor and destructor concept came into the picture in C++. Okay, not only C++, for every object-oriented programming, Python, Java, you will have the concept of constructor. But again, I'm telling there is no concept of destructor like C++ in Java or Python. Okay, it is an automatic garbage collection. So one headache is less in case of Java or you can say in Python compared to C++. So these are the, I'm telling you that why Java is more popular than C++. Why Python is more popular than C++. Okay, most of the organization in most of the industry, it gives more popularity to Java. Okay, this is one of the reasons. This is one of the reasons. Okay, it's less headache. Okay. Okay, so let's come back to the discussion. I hope that your conception is clear till now. What is constructor and destructor? So a constructor is a special member function whose task is to initialize the objects of its class, right? So it is a special because its name is same as the name of the class. Okay. So these are the things that we are going to discuss in this chapter. So constructor is a special member function to initialize the objects of its class, right? Then its name is same as the class name, which I have already told you. Its name is same as the class name. This is a very special feature of a constructor. So there is a first difference between a constructor and a member function. A member function name can be any name of the choice of the user. It may be equivalent to the class name or it may not be. But the thing is that when it is equivalent to a class name, okay, when it is equivalent to a class name without any return type, then it will act like a constructor. I will clear that explanation to you. But one thing you should remember right now, a member function, a difference between member function and constructor, the main difference is that in terms of you can say a declaration or syntactical difference is that a member function can have any name as per the choice of the developer or the programmer. Okay, it may be has a similar name with the class name, or it may have a different name from the class name. But in case of constructor, it is also a special kind of member function, but its name must be similar with the name of the class name. You cannot use any other name of the constructor apart from the class name. That thing you have to remember, right? So constructor is invoked whenever the object is created or object is initialized. There is one more feature of the constructor which is not written here. That feature is called a constructor cannot have any kind of return type. I repeat again, the constructor should not have any kind of return type, not even void. Constructor should not have any kind of return type, integer, float, char, no return type is applicable for the constructor definitions, not even void. So there is a second difference between a normal member function and a constructor. That normal member function must have a return type. A normal member function must have a return type. It may be any return type, integer, float, as per the programmer use, or even if it does not return any kind of value, then it has even a void return type in case of normal member function. But in case of constructor, there should not be any return type. Okay, not even void. Let's check it out how we can define a constructor. Check at the left hand side. This is first check at the left hand side. Then I will go for the right hand side. This is a constructor declaration. How we can declare a constructor. So what is the class name here? Integer, right? These two are the normal variable m and n. Now within the public part, the constructor has been defined integer. Within the public part, the constructor has been defined integer. So I think you can understand the class name, the constructor name are similar here. So constructor name must be similar with the class name. So first property is supported, right? And the second property is that constructor should not have any return type. So if you define here any kind of function, declare any kind of function instead of constructor, then you have to use a return type here. At least one return type, void. But in constructor, there should not be any return type. Then you can declare other things as per your choice. So in one program, you can define a constructor along with a member functions, a normal member function. It is applicable. So don't think that, sir, if we define a constructor, can we define a member function? Yes. Member function, it can be a hybrid type. You can define a constructor along with the member functions. But while you are declaring a constructor or defining a constructor, you have to maintain the properties of the constructor, which makes it different or distinguished from the normal member function. Up to this clear? Anyone has any confusion? Please tell me. Anyone has any kind of confusion? It's very, very important. This concept is very, very important. Up to this, it is clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
No confusion from anyone's end. Okay. Okay, very good. So check at the right hand side. At the right hand side, we have a constructor definition. We have a constructor definition. This is declaration. So obviously we have to define a constructor. Otherwise, there is no use of constructor. So how we can define a constructor? This is an external definition. You can also define a constructor internally, just like a member function. Member function also has two kind of definition. If you remember, inside the class and outside the class. In the similar way, constructor has two kind of definition, inside the class and outside the class. This is outside the class definition I have shown in this PPT. Okay. So how we can define a constructor? First the class name, then scope resolution operator, and then constructor name. So can anyone tell me what is the difference between this constructor definition and a member function definition, normal member function definition?
No return type is written.
Yes.
And no return type like void, int, float.
Yes, very good, very good. So the main difference between a constructor definition and a class member definition is that we should not use any return type here. But in class normal member method definition, we have to use a return type. If your program, if your function body will return something, then you have to use that specific return type. It may be integer, float, or character, anything else. If it does not return any value, then you have to use void. That is for in case of normal member functions. But in case of constructor, you should not use any kind of return type. Okay. So this is a definition of a constructor. And one more difference I have already told, it should be the constructor name should be similar as the class name. Right? Okay. Now these are the characteristics of constructor which I have already discussed with you. Some of the characteristics are very new that we will discuss in the upcoming topics. While we are discussing the upcoming topics or upcoming chapters, at that time some more important information regarding constructor we will discuss. Lots of questions an interviewer will ask. A tricky question will ask from this constructor. I will discuss those tricky questions one by one. Okay. So they should be declared in the public section. The constructor should be declared in the public section. The first tricky question interviewer will frequently ask, can we define or declare a constructor as a private? Can we define or declare a constructor as a private? That is the first tricky question the interviewer will ask to the candidate. Okay. Same question will be applicable for Java. Okay, similar kind of question will be applicable for Java. So we cannot define a constructor as a private. We cannot define a constructor as a private. Why? If you remember, we can define a normal member function as a private. In the last class, I have shown that thing to you. If you remember, a normal member method function or normal member method can be defined as a private. And how we can access that normal member method? By the help of a public function that we have defined within the same class. We can pass or call that private member function through that public member function, if you remember. But here, we cannot define a constructor as a private. Why? Because constructor has been called while you are creating the object. constructor has been called, always called while you are creating the object. So you cannot call one constructor with the help of another constructor. Let me repeat this thing again. We cannot call one constructor with the help of another constructor. So here, if you wish that you are going to call one constructor by making a calling constructor here, like a member method, normal member method, you are not allowed. Why? Because constructor is always called in the main method while you are creating the object of this class. Okay, so you have no managing power or controlling power of calling the constructor. You have to call the constructor in the place where you are going to create the object of that class integer. Okay, let me show you one small code here. I think the code is visible to everyone, right? So here I have defined one class multi. Try to understand the code very carefully. Here I have defined one class multi. Within the class, I have defined constructor, right? This is one constructor, this is another constructor. Two constructor I have defined. So this program can be an example of multiple constructors in a single class. A multiple constructor can be defined in a single class. Okay. This is one constructor, this is one constructor. What is the difference between these two constructors? What you have seen here? What is the difference between these two constructors?
Like it is parameterized, like
Yes.
second one.
Yes. So this constructor does not have any argument list or no parameters, and this constructor has two argument lists or parameters. So that's why this constructor is called a non-parameterized constructor. Let me tell you, this constructor is called a non-parameterized constructor, or sometimes this constructor is also called as default constructor. Default constructor. Okay. Why it is called default? I will explain this thing. And the second kind of constructor is called parameterized constructor. This is called both are constructor. Both are constructor declaration. Okay. But this is non-parameterized. This is parameterized. Okay. This is parameterized constructor. Remember these terms. Okay. Because in examination, a question will come by using these terms, or the interview will ask the question by using these terms. Okay, so you have to remember these terms. Sometimes they will use default constructor, sometimes they will use non-parameterized constructor. Okay, or constructor without parameter. These kind of terms are logically you have to understood these things. Okay, so these two are the declaration of the two kind of constructor. So how many types of constructor are there? Another question has arrived. How many types of constructor are there? There are two types of constructor. One, a constructor without parameter list or without argument list, and another kind of constructor with parameter list or with argument list. First kind of constructor is called non-parameterized constructor or default constructor. Second kind of constructor is called parameterized constructor. Clear? Now we will do the definition of these two constructors. These are the two definitions. Okay, these are non-parameterized constructor, default constructor definition. And these are parameterized constructor definition. I think it is not a very difficult to understand for you. Okay. The other jobs is very much similar with the member functions, member methods. Only the definition you have to understood according to the property of the constructor. Okay. So constructor does not have any return type. Constructor must not have any return type, and its name should be similar with the class name. Okay. In both the cases, this constructor does not have any return type, so it use void. So you may use void, you may leave it blank. Okay, the same thing, the same concept. Okay, it's your choice. And here we have to use two parameters because at a time of declaration, two parameters are there. So x and y. So you can understand one thing, that while we are calling this one, while we are calling this function, not function, while we are calling this constructor, we have to use this. We have to pass these two parameters during the call, and while we are calling this constructor, we don't need to pass any parameters. Very simple. Now comes into the main method and check the calling process. So can anyone tell me here, in this case, which call is responsible for default constructor call and which call is responsible for constructor parameterized constructor call?
OB is responsible for default and
OB.
Yes.
OB
Very
is
good.
responsible for
But
parameter.
one thing you should remember, we cannot use this thing here. We cannot do this thing here. Okay, it is not allowed because OB is an object. You cannot make it method. Okay, so while you are doing this multi-OB, while you are doing this multi-space OB, automatically the default constructor will call. If you don't define it, then it will not execute. Very simple. If you don't define the default constructor body in your program, obviously object will be created, a default constructor will be called by the compiler itself, but there is no execution of this default constructor because you didn't use the default constructor in your program. It may happen. You may use it, you may not use it. It's totally choice of the developer or the programmer, whether he or she will use the default constructor or not. But while you are calling the parameterized constructor, okay, then you will have to use this function kind of thing and pass the parameters. Pass the parameter. The first parameter for the first variable integer x and second parameter for the second variable integer y, and then it will perform. You can perform multiplication. I just print those two. I have just okay. So if you do implicit call, if you do implicit call, then you have to write this parameterized construct in such a way. And if you do explicit call, then you have to write this parameterized construct in such a way. Both are valid call of the parameterized constructor. Okay. So if you use this bracket, so don't think this object has this bracket. This object has this bracket. Okay. It has the bracket of this multifunction, but you can minimize this expression in such a way in the help of implicit call. Okay, so either you can use this one or you can use this one, is your choice, right? So I am using the implicit call. So let me run the code. Okay, so default constructor body is executing by the help of that default call, and the parameters constructor body is executing and printing the value of m and n, which you have passed as a parameter of the parameterized constructor call. Now I think we can also do this kind of concept if you want to do a default call. Let me check. Okay, we can also do this kind of thing in case of default parameter call. The same thing. This is a explicit, this is an implicit call if you don't use it for default parameter, default constructor, and if you use it, then it is an explicit call for the default constructor. Clear? Is it clear to everyone? Tell me who has any kind of problem, any kind of doubt in this program. Let it clear it here. Okay. Tell me any kind of problem. You have to clear it here regarding constructor. Any kind of problem. Anyone has any kind of problem?
Yes, explain me again, sir, that why we not use function object in void.
Why did not use function?
Sorry, parameter. Why we don't use like bracket in void constructor, like default constructor.
No, your voice is not clear. Tell me again.
Like, sir, in first object creation, OB bracket we can't use. Why? For default constructor.
Okay. OB bracket. Let me use it. Let me use it. Check it why it can be used or not. Look, the default constructor is not executing. Yeah, default constructor is not executing.
Why, sir? Like,
Actually, I think this is a syntactical sense. So if we are not passing any parameters here, so that's why we cannot use in such a way, because it's a void. Okay, but this thing is applicable in case of constructor. Okay, default constructor. I think these are parametrical, the syntactical differences between the parameters and non-parameters constructor.
okay, sir.
Okay. Okay, so anyone has any confusion? So let it clear again that we cannot define a constructor, or sorry, declare a constructor as a private. We cannot do that. A constructor can never be a private member of a class. A constructor can never be a private member of a class. This is a very, very important question. In multiple exam, it has been asked. Okay. Why? Because the constructor is always called from the main method. Okay. So you cannot pass one constructor within another constructor. Okay. It is not allowed. Why? Because this, if you pass this constructor, suppose if you pass this constructor as a call of under this constructor, it cannot happen. Why? Because constructor is never capable to create another constructor. Okay, it has been always created by the help of main method with the help of main compiler. Okay, because while you are calling the constructor, you have to create the objects and the memory space for that particular objects automatically along with it. So that is only responsibility of the compiler, and compiler only understood the main method. Okay, and obviously you can understand, if we make it private and if we create a if we call the constructor from the main method, obviously it will give an error, because if we make anything private in constructor, then we have to call that constructor from the same class, or we have to access the constructor from the same class, which is not possible in this case. So that's why constructor can never declare as private. It always declare as public. Clear? So let's go back to our discussion again. So the second point, first point is clear to everyone why it is declared in public section. The second point, they are called automatically when the objects are created, right? Like default constructor, they are called. Look, parameterized constructor are calling, the parameterized constructor and default constructor both are calling automatically. But in parameterized constructor, you have to pass arguments because this is a parameterized in nature. That obvious things you have to do. But in default constructor, you don't need to do anything. So I think you can understood. Till now, we have already used a constructor, but the thing is that we have not used constructor definition, but we have called the method, or while we are creating the object, we have already used the default constructor. If you remember the previous program which you have done, which we have already shown, the multiple programs we have already done, like if we go for the factorial one, if you remember the factorial program, so here I have called this one. Can anyone tell me in which line of this main method the constructor is calling? These two are not constructor. Remember, these two are methods. These two are methods. Because constructor name should be similar with the class name. So what is the class name? Factorial. So obviously these two are not constructor. These two are methods. Can anyone tell me in which line of this code we have used the constructor call?
The first line, factorial OB.
Yes, factorial OB. Because the other line, the rest of the line, if you do the explicit call, then what we should write? We should write this one. But this is a default. You don't need to require this. This can be an abstract way. So this program can also run if we write in this way. Okay. This also runs if we write in this way. Clear? So this is a default constructor call or non-parameterized constructor call. But I didn't define this constructor here because as a programmer, I don't want to use a default constructor in my program. That is my choice. You may use, you may not use. That is the requirement of the user or the programmer or the developer. Clear? Everyone clear? Where we have used the constructor in previous programs, all programs we have used constructor. Without constructor, we are not able to perform creation of objects And obviously, if you can't create an object, we are not able to access the class members, and the class doesn't have any existence in the memory system. The entire class and object, the entire object-oriented programming concept cannot be initiated or built without the help of the constructor concept. Clear? Anyone has any doubt?
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, in the constructor program, why you have used different object like OB and OB1?
Where? This one.
Yes, sir.
Acha, you want to use the same objects.
Yes.
Okay. Let me check it. Actually, same objects redeclaration of multi-OB, right? So same objects declaration, actually the first object is initialized for the default constructor. You have already defined the default constructor, so first object is dedicated for the default constructor, and a new object, a second object, is dedicated for the non-default or the parameterized constructor. Okay, so you have to use different objects because one object points to the different memory locations or different constructor memory locations to store these variables m and y, m and n. So we have to use different objects because the first object is used for the default constructor for the specification or referencing the default constructor, and the second object is used for the non-default constructor or the parameterized constructor for referencing these two variables. Okay, similar objects cannot be possible because one object is trying to override the other object, and it will not allow in case of constructor. Understood?
Okay, sir. Got it.
Okay. Third property, which we have already discussed, that it does not have any return type, is not even void. Fourth property, the constructor name is same as the class name. Fifth property, that I will discuss while I am going to discuss the inheritance in our next chapter after the constructor and destructor. Our next chapter will be inheritance and polymorphism. There I am going to discuss constructor cannot be inherited. This is another very important question. Just like that constructor cannot be private, this is another important question interviewer will frequently ask, or the examiner will frequently give this question. Why constructor cannot be inherited? Okay, what is inheritance? What is inherited functions? What is inherited constructor? That I am going to tell you. Constructor cannot be virtual. That is also I am going to discuss in future, because in future we have another concept called virtual function in C++. So virtual function has a specific kind of use, but constructor cannot be a virtual. Okay, cannot be. You cannot declare constructor as a virtual function. Why? That we are going to discuss in the upcoming class. Acha. Another important property does not declare here. A constructor can be overloaded. That property tells that a constructor, I'm writing this property, if everyone note it down, a constructor can be overloaded, or overloading of the constructor is possible. A constructor can be overloaded, or overloading of constructor is possible. Very simple. Operator overloading, I have already discussed about the operator overloading, how operator overloading with the same operator can be perform multiple tasks. That's why operator overloading is working in such a way. Constructor overloading. So can anyone define a constructor overloading based on this program, which I have already explained to you? What do you understand by constructor overloading? I have already discussed about operator overloading. I think you can tell me what is constructor overloading.
Defining same definition, constructor definition again, like
more than one constructor must have similar name.
Yes, like that. Constructor
Right.
definition is
But
more.
their task or their jobs are different. That is a overloading. Similar overloading concepts is there in everywhere in C++ program. One is operator overloading, another one is constructor overloading, another one is function overloading or method overloading. That you are going to learn in our next chapter while we are discussing about the polymorphism. Okay, so here constructor overloading, that means two constructors with the same name, but has different jobs to do or different jobs to perform. So here, two constructors. The first constructor is this one, and second constructor is this one with the same name. These are the two constructor definition with the same name, but their tasks are different. Their jobs are different. It is so. Is it so? Their jobs are different. We will get different output for these two different constructors. So this is an example of constructor overloading. And the thing is that from the definition, from the declaration, you can also specify a same constructor is overloaded 2 times here. And how you can define the difference between these two constructor overloaded to these two overloaded constructor? Based on its parameter type. So you can say, sir, this constructor is overloaded over this constructor. Overloaded means two constructors have the same name but two different parameters. That means this constructor does not have any parameter, so that's why it used void, and this constructor has 2 parameters. So can we define one more constructor here? Suppose this one. Can we define in such a way? Multi-float and
like this and this are
yes. So here we have used a float as a parameter. Float, suppose f, okay, and this is a single parameterized constructor. We will write some line here, and here it is int mn, but this is a float, so that's why we have used we have declared another float variable, suppose f1. Okay, so here we can write this thing f1 equal to f. I think we can write these things here, and here we have print the f variable. You can perform any operation here, but for make it simple, I just print it here, the f variable, and here we are calling that similar constructor with some different object name, and we pass some float value here. 15.89 is the float value. So this is another constructor with a single parameter. Clear? Is it clear? One more thing. Suppose we have one more constructor with 2 parameters, float, float, and this is 2 variables, f1, f2, and here the similar concepts. Suppose I have given fx and float fy. Okay, so it should be fx, and this one should be fy, and we will print here fx is fx and not fx. Suppose this is f1. We will print the local variables here. F2 should be fy. Okay, this should be f2 and this should be f1. Okay. So can we do that? What problem? Oh, sorry, semicolon is not there. So it is called overloaded, is ambiguous. Okay, we'll change the object here. Call overload and there is multi-float. There must be some problem. This is one float. This is another float. Multi-float, float. Float f1, f2. Float fx, float fy. Any problem here? Have you found any problem here?
I think fx.
I also think that thing. So we will change this one. Also as a 2 variable, I think. G. Let's check it out. No. Call overload multi double double is ambiguous. Candidates candidates are multi float float multi. Okay, we will give some. Someone's mic is on. Someone's microphone is on. Please shut down
Oh,
of
sorry. I just forgot.
the microphone is on. Hmm. Even some very limited problem is there. Anyone can find any kind of problem here? 1x2 multi-float. A single parameter is run successfully, so that should be this should also run successfully. Constructed element float F float G. F1 equal to F, F2 equal to G. F1 F2. Acha. We will do one thing. Let's print just F and G here. Okay, don't need to print this F1 F2. Please apply program this monthly follow up overloaded multi double. Can we make it double? It doesn't make any sense. Okay, you can try it. Okay, you can try it at your home. I think it should run. There is some silly mistake here. Okay, there is some silly mistake here. So one thing I need to show you here, which my objective to show you here, that if we want to distinguish these three constructors from overloaded, these three constructors are overloaded from each other with each other, but the thing is that their parameters are different, right? So here, not only number of parameters, the first two constructor we can define based on the number of parameters. Why? Because the first constructor is a default constructor which has no parameter, 0 parameter, and the second constructor has 2 parameters. So based on the number of parameters, we can define it. If you remember the previous function, I have used only one float. So based on the number of parameters, we can define these three constructors. Not only number of parameters, we can also make it distinguish between these three constructors based on the nature of parameters or the type of parameters. So this is void. Okay, there is no type, 0 type, and this is integer type parameters we are passing. This is float type parameters we are passing. But both the number are similar. The number of parameters are similar, but the type of the parameter are dissimilar. So overloaded constructor overloaded, we can distinguish more than one constructor by 2 ways. The first way is based on the number of parameters, and the second way is based on the type of parameters. That my main objective is to show you here. Clear? Is the conception is clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we will stop here for today's lecture.